War Eagle Auburn family, and welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we sit down, and we talk about what's going on in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. We're always heavy on the sports, especially those Auburn sports here on this channel. But if it's orange and blue, it is what we do because we are about the whole Auburn experience here. On this live stream, our main topic of discussion is going to be a fan prediction show. Yes, you, the viewers, the listeners, the supporters, however you'd like to categorize yourself. Those of you that are here participating live, especially tonight, are going to help us pick a season record prediction for Auburn football 2022. It's going to be interesting, right? We already got people dropping in right now. Their predictions earlier. I kind of anticipated this. Like, all right, show's over. Everybody's throwing in their predictions. No, we're actually going to take this game by game tonight. We're going to look at the schedule as it sits and try to kind of anticipate what we know about the team right now. The problem is there's been no, as of I know right now, no particular starting quarterback named. So that kind of throws a monkey wrench in some things in terms of trying to figure out what the results of these games would be. But let's operate off of that. The quarterback that we picked is doing just well enough to be successful. Probably that's a good starting place right there. But let's just kind of assume those type of scenarios. We're going to try to make a season prediction about what we know about this team game by game, and that's what we'll do tonight. Before we do that, though, a couple things for you. Please do make sure, if you are watching live or on the replay, that you smash that like button if you enjoy this type of content, the retweet button, the share button, share it into a Facebook group. Have us all be part of this little growing family within the Auburn family by sharing this out here and inviting them to be a part of live streams like this. Right now in the chat, we know a lot of you have already done that. This is our check-in period. Post your city, state, international, wherever you're from, to let us know that you're here with the War Eagle. If we've got Rogue fans out, we had some dogs invade the live stream last night. If you didn't know, we go live every single Wednesday night for a open call, open mic sort of night for anybody to call in, to talk to us. Anything really goes on Wednesday nights. So that's where that came from. We had some dog fans come in. Maybe we'll see them again. I don't know. So do all those things, and that's how we're going to operate tonight. So no calls tonight or anything like that. I'll take your comments and your questions as they are appropriate to what we're talking about in there. You guys can carry on your own conversations in the chat too. But what's going to happen is I'm going to bring up a game. We're going to discuss it a little bit. I'd love to hear some of y'all's perceptions about the team that I'm bringing up, Auburn's chances to get them, anything that you think is going to be playing into that particular matchup at that time. And as we get further and further in the season, there's going to be a lot more unknowns, obviously. But that's how this is going to operate tonight. So at the end of this hour here, give or take, however long that is, we will have not an official for me, but at least in terms of a collective prediction for Auburn's record for 2022 for Auburn football. I will give my official prediction much later, but this is going to help inform me a lot on what's my prediction might be. So a lot of this is y'all are doing the legwork for me. A lot of people here. Kevin, Unbeaten Lake, Thomas is here. We got Devin, super excited to be here for this one. I'm glad you're here too. Rob, we got Corey Benson here. Jay's here. Dusty's here. You poisoned the dog fans last night. We got Latanya from Gadsden here. Good to see all of you. Thank you guys so much for joining the stream tonight, and continue to smash that like button and share it out so we can get more people in here. Let them know that we're live. I do know that here's the problem. I try to pick when I go live, especially when other things aren't going on. There's two problems right now. Auburn soccer is playing #1 Florida State. And while, granted, I know a lot of you probably aren't super excited to be glued to your TV or your radio for that, it is something that draws people's attention away, and Tiger Talk is going on right now. So I know we're probably going to be missing a few people tonight because there's a lot of things going on. Corey says, I'm not making a prediction until I see the O-line against Penn State. Well, I don't know what you're going to do tonight. Number 2, FSU. I didn't know they had dropped. Thank you for clarifying. Either way, though, I'm very proud of them. Hopefully they can have do some big things tonight. This says Big Will Andalusia. Is that your name? Your name's Rhett. What you meant by Big Will Andalusia? Anyway, that was interesting. But thanks for being here. So let's go ahead and do this thing. Let's not waste any time, because I don't want us to have one of those 2-hour shows again where we're sitting there trying to squeeze our way into getting this whole thing done. But what we're going to do, I'll bring it up on the screen again, what we've been using the last couple Thursday nights when we did our first half season preview and our second half season preview. All of that was just about just kind of higher level talking of these particular games. This is more, what do you all think is going to happen? So we will take a vote when I call for it on a particular game, who wins this one. And a lot of them are going to be pretty easy. Some of them are going to be pretty hard. But let's see what we end up in all this. And I should have done this. I'm going to try to, let me see if I can do something without making a lot of noise here. I should have brought a pen and paper with me, but I did not. So I'm going to do something a little unconventional, is tally up our wins and losses on this thing I have over here to my side, just so we don't forget, because I feel like I will forget when we get to the end of the stream here. All right, let's start right there at the very top. The Mercer Bears. The game will be at 7 p.m. Eastern time, SEC Network Plus / ESPN Plus, which means you have to have some sort of paid subscription to view this thing. We went through a time where you couldn't hardly get any of the games outside of the SEC games, especially these little rinky-dink games. Then everything was on TV, and now all these smaller ones are starting to go back under these paid things. It's getting a little bit frustrating again. I will be, obviously, as I always am, on campus for the home games. So that won't be a problem for me, because even if I don't go into the game, I'll be watching in the student center, and they always have it on closed circuit TV with the radio broadcast, which is amazing. So Mercer Bears. Does anybody know anything? Don't do your predictions yet. I'll call for them when you want predictions. So to hold your horses, everybody. Does anybody have any high level thoughts about the Mercer Bears? Does anybody know anything about the Mercer Bears? I remember that one game I don't know, was it 3 years ago, something like that, where we won 30-14. It was a surprisingly frustrating game for a double-digit win. I remember it was not a game that we left of feeling really good about our program and things like that. So they find a way to, at least that time, to be competitive here. Unbeaten Lake says, let's score more than 24 points and hold on to the ball. I agree. So I think when you think about these, especially beginning games, we call them rinky-dink games, the games you're expected to win, the teams that you signed to come to Auburn to earn a paycheck, and it's even more of a great point, Jay. By the way, thank you for being a channel member, sir. How much are we paying them? It's usually, isn't it does anybody know? I feel like there was one time it was $1 million or something like that, but I'm sure it's a few $100,000, to come play at Auburn to get your tail beat. So it makes it even more worse if you fall. Could you imagine us having to face the facts that we had lost to Georgia State if that had occurred last year, and then paying them to come beat us? Oh, that would have been so bad. Thomas says Mercer averaged 400 yards a game last year, but our defense will probably hold them to 250. I think an Auburn defense, if they're averaging close to 250, well, any team really, of yards allowed a game, you're going to be in pretty good position to win the game. I seem to remember the Mercer Bears having a decent offense at times, just from, hearsay and kind of following general college football stuff. But I don't know enough about them to really say if that's dependent. So I'm going to take your word at it, Thomas. You're a very good, studious person in terms of Auburn football, but college football. So you seem pretty, on top of that. Brett Favre is playing incognito for Mercer as quarterback because he misses football. What is that about, Corey? Is there a guy that looks like him over there? And he says there's 800 G's for those cupcake games. That's a lot of money, is it not? A lot of money. So here's what I'll say about this game, and we'll pull it to a vote in just a second. Just a second. These are the games that are, especially this first one, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. I've looked at the weather. Let me just point that out, because we can talk about that aspect of it, because I'm obviously planning for those things. It looks to be about a 20% chance of rain that day, so probably good chances we're not going to have any problems with that, even if there's a pop-up shower. It's supposed to be, I think, high 60s is low, 82 to 85, somewhere in that range is going to be the high. That is not bad, especially for a Saturday night in Auburn, Alabama, to get your season started off right. It can't get much better than that in this part of the year, especially. Now, if it was going to be like in the 70s, that is the high. That would be just absolutely outstanding. Mercer got beaten a buzzer beater in Neville Arena, and that's what I know. Well, that's a different story altogether. That one was a little bit worrisome too. Rob says he's skipping the first 2 games. You can't skip the first 2 games. You can't. We'll be in town for Penn State, though. He needs someone like Brett. All right, let's do this now. I know it's a formality. I think everybody knows what's going to happen. But right now, who wins this game, Auburn or Mercer? Go ahead and post it just rapid fire in the comments right now. Auburn or Mercer. If you want to be funny, you can post Mercer. But I don't think there's a legitimate shot that Mercer is going to have in this particular game. They're not even Division I AA. They're not even, it's just not going to. You can even post score predictions if you'd like to, if you want to do that as part of your voting process. I will accept those as well. Dwight on Facebook said Auburn. Rhett, who's Will, is 34-10. That sounds like a familiar score there. Thomas, let's see, Auburn. Yeah, guys, I think you're all obviously right. This is not even a question. Auburn's going to win this game very, very, very easily. All right, let's move on to game number 2. You can continue to vote if you haven't on that particular one, but I'll call for the next vote in a little bit about the next team, the San Jose State Spartans. Now, we talked a little bit about this in the last live stream last night on Wednesday night about a need at this point in the season to not overlook the San Jose Spartans. Not because they stand a solid chance of beating us, but because now you're moving up into Division I AA. I mean, these are even though you probably have never heard of San Jose State before, most of you. I mean, I shouldn't say most of you. A lot of you haven't. They are not a power. They are part of major college football. They're not in a power conference. I think they're in the Mountain West. It used to be the WAC. They're in the Mountain West. Anyone to clarify that for me? But what does anybody have thoughts about this game? Now, if I think back, the last time we played San Jose State, they were known for offense as well and how they might be able to move the ball up and down the field. And I'd just be honest with you, I haven't followed San Jose State a lot over those years outside of them being at Auburn. So I can't really speak to them. The game is at 7:30, so 30 minutes later than the last one on ESPNU, finally on national television, which is what, and I should say, technically it isn't, because there's a lot of TV packages these days that do not include ESPNU. Ask my mom, because I go to her house sometimes if it's an away game and it's on ESPNU, and I'm like, I can't watch it because you don't have ESPNU for whatever reason. But it's on that game, 7:30. Obviously, I think the way the weather's trending right now, I'm hoping we're going to have one of those rare, just like not too hot falls. Like we're talking maybe the second and third games it pushes into the 90s. I think we're kind of hoping for that for Penn State. More on that in a second. But yeah, I don't see that's the main storylines I think here. Take San Jose State seriously, but also probably going to expect a win here. Not voting just yet, but let's see what you guys are saying about them. Rob wants to see some serious run block in the first 2 games. I 100% agree. This is the time for the offensive line of Mercer and now San Jose State, which we're talking about right now. This is the time for those minute details, rotations, to get really worked out before you get to the team we'll talk about in a second, the first big hype moment of the entire season. San Jose State, I think, is going to have a lot better athletes than Mercer, which will push the testing of that offensive line a little bit further. So, yes, they need to start creating even better holes against San Jose State because it's going to be a higher level of talent. They beat Harsin when he was at Boise State. Well, that's a little discouraging. Well, but that's at least something for him to kind of say, guys, I don't like losing to these guys because they've done it to me before. A little bit of extra motivation from Coach Harsin to his players about beating San Jose State. So if you want to take that angle, Coach Harsin has familiarity with this team. He's 2 years removed from, a year and some change removed from Boise State. So at least he has some familiarity what they do, the type of talent they have. So there's going to be some familiarity there that's going to hopefully play in our favor, having Coach Harsin be our head coach. Not that we needed it, but it is. Not a prediction, but people are saying 2 touchdown win there, and they kind of confirm that they're in the Mountain West. Interestingly, San Jose State was the last team Coach Harsin played while at Boise. They beat him in the championship game, so I'm sure Coach will want to revenge. See, this is why I like doing these shows, because I mean, I know I'm here to give you guys some entertainment and stuff like that, but you all are helping educate me, giving me more insights into these matchups than even I missed, because, we like to sit here on YouTube, on social media, and act like, when I say we, I mean people like me, content creators, act like we got all the answers. We don't. Sometimes we fake it till you make it. But this is what I love. I love the interaction that you guys give me here and giving me information like this. So that's a good bit of thing to share there. So a little bit of history, but also familiarity that'll play in the favor of the Auburn Tigers. So with that being said, let's take a vote. Right now, Auburn or San Jose State, who wins? Post your answer. You may post a score prediction. But as of this moment, the Auburn Tigers are 1-0. Can we get a consensus / majority? Should be a consensus that Auburn will be 2-0 after week 2 in the 2022 season. Auburn wins by 13. Auburn in a close one, Rhett says, 27-21. Auburn looking ahead to Penn State. I was going to ask what's your rationale for thinking it was going to be a close one, but I think that's a fair point. If you get too focused on what's ahead, if you don't focus on what the mentality that Coach Harsin stresses, 1-0, you could get caught looking and then forget about that. Thomas, great point. Let's not forget the rest of Harsin's staff, which is his now essentially, because he got rid of everybody who wasn't his, more or less. Familiar with San Jose State. Auburn wins by 20. Fair points all the way around. I think even you may continue voting and giving your score predictions if you'd like there, but we're going to go ahead. I don't think we're going to get enough of a consensus the opposite way to warrant us saying that we're not going to be 2-0. I'm marking like on this little piece of cardboard I have over here, since I don't have a thing to keep track. David says 42-6. I don't think it'll be that bad, David, but I think it'll be in the vicinity of that is probably what I'll say. All right, we are now past Mercer, San Jose State. This is the big daddy of them all. I'll ask for your prediction in just a little bit on who's going to win, but let's talk about the matchup. Auburn versus Penn State. This is the game that a lot of people are super excited about it with good reason. I think even if you had reversed the roles in this home and home series where Penn State and Auburn were going to play one at their place, once at ours, if you reversed the roles, it still would have been super hyped on both sides. With last year's results, obviously that makes things a little bit more interesting, a little bit more of a revenge factor. Penn State made a big to-do about how we weren't ready for the whiteout experience. And, Penn State fans just got up in arms everywhere, but especially on this channel. I made a video asking the question, is Auburn ready for that? And you would have thought I had said something about their grandmother. Welcome to the SEC, Penn State is all I got to say. You ain't ready for the SEC in the heat of summer, essentially, because it's still summer here. And for these Auburn Tigers that are ready to take revenge on you. That is my overall take. What do you guys think about this particular game? Thoughts, impressions, what's going to make it up? It's a 3:30 CBS game, so we get to listen to old friend Gary Danielson. I say that gritting my teeth. And it will be a high, essentially noon game because of where the sun's going to be at still at that time of the year, but it's a 3:30 kickoff CBS game. The eyes of the nation will be upon us, to quote, I think it's a president who said that the eyes of the nation are upon us, but the eyes of the world are upon us, one of the two. But what do you guys think about the Auburn-Penn State matchup? Pressure Clifford, stop the run game, and we win. No 3-man rushes, please. Can I ask a question? And this is going to make me sound super ignorant. Again, why I love doing these shows. Clifford's still there? Is this real? Because I know we talked about this. I thought he had gone. I know we talked about Dotson, the wide receiver, not being there anymore, which is a huge break for us. No offense to their wide receivers there. I'm sure they're talented as well. But Dotson tore our hind ends up. Like, I mean, he just ripped us a new one on defense. Credit goes to Clifford for getting it to him. But we saw that we could get to Clifford and make him mistakes. And that's kind of the MO a lot. With Clifford, I remember last year. Get to him, force him to make mistakes, and then you find out that he is, he can make a lot of those. 6th season? My goodness. The ageless wonder that he is. Devin says, I'll be coming full circle on this game. Penn State last year was my first live reaction last year. That was, one of our craziest ones. So I think a lot of people, Devin, found our show here on that one. So maybe that will be the great anniversary of a lot of people. I'm hoping to have a really fun one. So let me take this time to remind you guys that, especially when I'm on campus, the live reaction shows will come sometime after the game, barring some circumstances where there's no connectivity or things like that. But, I got to get out of the stadium. I got to get set up, all that kind of thing. So when I'm at home at a game, not at a game, or the game's away, I can usually do it right after. But just remember, those live stream reaction shows come very soon after the game ends, as soon as I can get there and get set up. I think our D-line controls the line of scrimmage. Concern from Pennsylvania seems to be their O-line. Well, we're familiar with that, aren't we? That's encouraging to hear, though. Stan, what is up? I gave you a shout out yesterday, sir. I don't know if you saw it. I don't know if you watched the replay because I don't remember seeing the live stream. Stan just joined as a Booster Club member. So again, I wish I had like a little sounder or something here, like yay, when someone becomes a channel member here or a Booster Club member. Thank you, sir. I owe you an email, some introduction stuff into that, but thank you for that. Hopefully we can cover the tight ends this year. Hopefully. Offensive mistakes. Can't cover 4 from Penn State. Let's see. I hope it's 150 degrees. First ever Big Ten team to visit JHS. I'm 12-0 in JHS. Auburn 20. They got score predictions there. All right. Right now, I'll read some of your other comments, but you may post your official prediction right now. Type Auburn or Penn State. Who wins it? Auburn or Penn State? You may post a score alongside that, but let's get an official tally here right now. Auburn or Penn State? Type it now. First loss for Auburn, Rob said a little bit earlier in the comments there. Offense will win it. The defense team as well. It's either going to be super hot or super wet. Well, it always is because of the humidity down here. Either way, it probably would pay in our favor. The environment is going to play into our favor. Let's see here. All right, we got some predictions here. Auburn by 3. Auburn wins. Auburn. Auburn. AU. We got tons of Auburn every single where. So it looks like everybody is on the side of Auburn, except who was it said that earlier? Rob, you gave yours a little bit earlier than when I called for it, said a loss. So even with Rob being the naysayer on this, love you, Rob, it looks like we've got plenty to assume that the Auburn Tigers are going to take down the Penn State Nittany Lions, which means we are 3-0 on the year right now. Your fan reaction predictions. All right. Game number 4, homecoming. The Missouri Tigers, the faux Tigers, not as faux as the foes that are the LSU, but Missouri being the black and gold Tigers. No time set. I get the feeling that Auburn is going to have a noon game for this one, not just because it's the homecoming game, but because I believe, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, there's some sort of like stipulation where they have to spread them out equally, who gets a noon game, who gets the midday game, who gets the evening games, things like that. So we're going to have to take them at some time. I want this to be a night game because I would love to have homecoming at night. Spend all day enjoying the atmosphere of homecoming, but I think it'll be during the day. So prepare yourself for that. So we will call for predictions in just a minute. But right now, your thoughts on Missouri. Does anybody have any reason to be afraid of Missouri? Do you think that this could be a surprising upset? I think someone said on a live stream yesterday, they thought that Auburn could be on potential upset alert for this one because they'd be coming off the high of a Penn State win, looking ahead to LSU and Georgia after that, and kind of forget about this one. It always scares me when an SEC team is made. You're a homecoming. Don't like that one single bit, but it will make for an exciting atmosphere. Her first home game that she's going to be there. Dusty was afraid of Missouri. I remember that. That's who that was. But I think he brought up some good points that you don't want to overlook this thing. A sandwich game. Yeah, they really are stuffed between Penn State and, a gauntlet of LSU, Georgia, and Ole Miss when you look at how everything shakes out right there. But I just don't know enough about the Missouri Tigers right now to make a well-educated assumption on this one. But there's something about this 5-game home stretch with homecoming there, hopefully coming off a win over Penn State, that makes me feel really good about this game. Drinkwitz was actually the offensive coordinator in 14 and 15 for Harsin at Boise. I forgot where I was going with this. I think you're just bringing up the point, some familiarity there. So that's something to think about. All these connections in college football here. You try to try to have variations in your schemes and what you do every single year, but there's still some basic tenets of who you are that never really leave. And so having Coach Harsin be so familiar with him is probably also going to pay dividends for Auburn. Hopefully, that's what we're thinking, right? Where did I get my shirt from? I have no clue. There's a closet full of shirts that I rotate through for these shows, and this one has been there forever. Do you think the coaching history will mean anything? If you're talking about what we were just talking about, Devin, I think so in terms of familiarity. Have they played each other since that time? Does anybody know that? Does anybody know if Drinkwitz and them played while they were at Boise State? Because they haven't played first time meeting up as SEC coaches together. If we beat Penn State, everybody going to be hyping up the LSU game. I don't like it, but it being at home, I think we pull it out late after a slow start. I could 100% seen this one being a little bit scary in that first half, and then Auburn just kind of realizing this ain't happening today. It is not happening today. And then just pull away. Tickets to LSU. You're hoping this, are you talking about LSU there? Sorry, I got mixed up in your comments there. All right, let's do a vote. I think we're ready. I think we've talked about it enough. We could spend all night talking about it, but we got plenty of games to roll through here, and we're at 30 minutes already. What say you? Vote right now. Type Auburn or Missouri. Who wins? Auburn or Missouri? You may post a final score if you'd like to drop that in here. As a reminder, because we're starting to get a lot of new faces in here into the stream, that this is not my official prediction. We're just doing a group effort tonight to pick how Auburn's going to do on their record. Auburn. A lot of Auburn. So basically, the way this is going, I don't see a lot of people being very afraid of Auburn. It's a close one, though. 24-20. That's something that Rhett, Will. I'm going to just call you Rhett because it's going to get confusing. I know you go by Will based on what you said earlier. But staying healthy is going to be a key for Auburn throughout this. If the key pieces, offensive line, tank, stay healthy, I think we're going to be really good all season. Auburn by 17. We usually struggle against the radar East teams like Missouri. Oh, don't tell me about 2016 Banner. All right, we're going to count that as a win. So as a group, we've talked about it. 4-0, 1 game left in this 5-game home stretch to cover the entirety of September and opening up on October 1st that month. Get that October start off right. Auburn versus LSU, the Tiger Bowl. Go Tigers comes to town and everything that comes with the Raging Cajuns. Hold your predictions. We'll ask for it at the very end. But let's talk about that particular game. The importance of that matchup last season had reached a fever pitch, and I cannot imagine where we'd be today had that win not have happened. Thankfully, Coach Harsin has that under his belt. No one will be able to take that away from him, no matter how long his tenure is at Auburn. He ended the losing streak there. Finally, after decades of no success, of so close, Coach Harsin is the one that ended that. Will the streak will he create a streak for LSU? There's a lot of people that are starting to get a little bit higher on LSU, national commentators I'm noticing. I don't understand why. The Brian Kelly effect seems to work wherever he goes. Cincinnati, Notre Dame. Will it work at LSU? Probably. In fact, I would say it's probably a sure thing that they're going to be back to where they were at some point. Does it happen in season 1? I don't know. Linda, good to see you. Thanks for being here. I've got a prediction. Game day coming to Auburn for the LSU game. That might be a good prediction on Beaten Lake. Now, so when we talk about these games, you got to put into perspective a couple things, right? Based on how the team's doing is when this game will be, each game will be played, and the other team as well. But also, what else is going on that weekend? Have you looked at Unbeaten Link at the rest of that week? If there's not a better matchup that's going to likely be there, then you may be right. That's when you ask the question, is College Game Day coming to my town? You got to ask that question. Is there a better matchup than us? Levon says big time swing game. I think there are bigger swing games, but it is one of those that can definitely determine the sway of a particular season. And that is one right there. 3 straight against LSU. So I guess it would be a streak. I completely forgot. I got so focused on last year's win, I forgot we beat them the year before that. Corey thinks that LSU gets 4 losses this year. That seems about right to me. I think LSU is going to be one of those teams that flirts with greatness just because they have the talent to do so and what appears to be a great coach in Brian Kelly, but they're just going to have the same problems that most programs have when there's attrition during a coaching change. Auburn went through it. Alabama went through it when they changed coaches, even under Nick Saban. Georgia went through it. It just takes time to get yourself implemented unless you walk into a situation like Coach Malzahn did, where it was your team is saved for 1 year that you helped recruit. So that particular situation, I think, is not going to favor him simply because it's just a regime change. So let's go ahead and guess right now. Post your predictions. Auburn versus LSU, October 1st. Who wins? Type Auburn or LSU. You may post a game score as well. I'd like to know from you your prediction for this game. Is anybody going to step out and throw this one up for the LSU Tigers? Auburn. I hate it, but LSU by 9. Thomas. All right. And Auburn by 3. Oops. Auburn gets it done. Auburn. My only 2 SEC wins. Auburn beats LSU by 17. Auburn by 4. All right. It looks like we're all in agreement here for the most part. At least the majority of us believe that the Auburn Tigers will beat the faux Tigers that are. Hold on, reread that. Did I say that wrong? I hate LSU. Auburn by 9. I read I hate it. So I am admonishing. I am relieving Thomas of that blasphemy that I spoke upon him. So nobody, it seems, is predicting. I'm going with LSU, Corey says. I don't think LSU has their act together. I'm going with LSU. I don't think LSU has their act together. Too many mistakes. Is that what you meant? See, now I think I'm rereading that again wrong. LSU is struggling to put an offensive line together so far at camp. Also, quarterback questions sound familiar. It's going to be a very similar game. Thus, his score 21-20. All right, there we go. All right, the LSU Tigers, we're going to put them in the win column. So, the much anticipated 5-game home stretch, by all our accounts here on this channel, will result in a 5-0 Auburn Tigers. This is where things get interesting. I'm tired. You're tired, Corey? I'm tired. Georgia Bulldogs. Save your predictions. Currently ranked number 3. October 8th. My gut tells me if Auburn does what I expect them to do, and Georgia remains as we expect them to be, you could be looking at a ranked Auburn team coming into Athens with a lot of attention on that game. You want to talk about a possible college game day, not for Auburn, in Auburn, but in Athens. That might be it right there. This is where we need all of those dogs to be here. I can't even do it like full-heartedly because it's such a stupid thing. The Georgia Bulldogs. Everybody's throwing out their reminders of how much we hate them. But it is the Georgia Bulldogs. They have a ton of talent. They have a ton in their favor. Is there a case to be made for the Auburn Tigers to win here? Please, please, please score more than 10 points. We haven't scored more than 10 points in Athens since 2009. So is that the mantra this year? Score more than 10? Got to start somewhere, right? Rob, I have never been there. I don't particularly get into the things I'm sure that you were referring to as fun there, but I definitely can appreciate the atmosphere. Charlie, you have to vote. We're not calling for the vote just yet, but you have to vote. Let's see. I thought there was another random question. What games am I attending? I will be at every home game, maybe not the second game. I can't really plan it. It's very rare that I travel right now, especially the way gas prices are, but we'll see. All right, let's do this thing. I don't want to belabor the point here. It's really hard to make a case for Auburn in this one, but I want to know what you guys think. Seriously, who wins this one? Auburn or Georgia? Post it in the chat right now with a score if you'd like to, if that tickles your fancy there. Who wins this matchup? Kevin, ever the optimist, 35-21. I don't know about that one. Ugly by 17. Devin with the positivity. Auburn. Levon says, remember my comment about the swing game. This one close. Let me be clear about this. And I'll get keep voting and telling me what you think. I hope it didn't come across that I don't think Auburn's capable of winning this game. I 100% think Auburn can win this game. I'm just thinking about where we might be at this point, where they'll be, and who I know UGA to be and who I know Auburn to be right now. I just see it more on their favor, especially at their place. Now, if this was at our place again, I'm going to be hard-pressed not to pick Auburn in an major upset. But at UGA, I don't know, man. I don't know. Slobberknocker 23-16. Auburn by 1. UGA over 28. Close one there. Georgia's on a down year, so Auburn won it there. We got 14-10 Auburn. GA. I think it's pretty even. I wasn't keeping exact count there, but I'm going to say that I think that we're going to probably put the Georgia one in the loss column. We need to be realistic and fair. right now until people present a compelling argument that Auburn is in a really good position to win this game. I think it's a fair thing to say based on our vote and if a lot of people were here too, to say that this one would end up as a loss. So we're going to put that as our collective prediction of the schedule as a loss. So 6 games in, we are 5-1 on the season. AU Tiger Blog and my friend Keith, good to see you. Lots of scenarios considered. Georgia lost an awful lot of talent to the draft and transfer portal. If Auburn is rolling, it could be a program changer for Harsin. There's a vote for Auburn. Well, I'm going to overrule here a little bit and just say that even though I think that we have a pretty even vote count there, that I'm going to put, just for fairness sake, Auburn in the loss column on that one. A lot of people are hoping that you have that come true. All right, let's keep moving. I'll move the screen up a little bit. Actually, let me go and test now if it'll come up properly. Oh, look at that. It's working. Sometimes everything that I've got set up here, I'm not sure if it'll work. And that'll put us right in line for everything that we need. So perfect. All right. The Ole Miss Rebels on the road, Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. They can't decide what mascot they are. They can't decide what type of football team they are. 21 ranked Ole Miss Rebels right now. I haven't looked at their schedule a lot, so I can't tell you where I think they'll be at this point, but a lot of people expect them to be in competition probably still by the time we get to them. So it could be a very similar game to last year where you've got an Auburn team maybe with 1 loss, and Ole Miss team maybe with a loss too. Still everything on the table for both of them. You want to talk about season-defining games? This is it right here, my friends, because if Auburn drops this game, if Auburn and save your predictions in your votes until the end there, until we get to and I'll call for it. If we get to this point and we take 2 losses in a row, it's a big disappointment. It really is. And it's not out of the realm of possibility though. But if you rebound after a loss in our group prediction here against a ranked opponent on the road, that's going to look real well, not just on the outside world, but on the team within itself, trying to figure out how do we respond to adversity? How do we move forward from it? Thoughts on Ole Miss? Lane Kiffin's pretty crazy. They seem to be pretty good on offense, as they always are with Lane Kiffin. Your thoughts on Ole Miss? Tricky. I'm still debating if Kiffin has reached his peak or if they will get better like everyone says. I don't think he's peaked. I don't think his team has peaked. I think Lane Kiffin will always be competitive. How competitive is the question? You need to take them seriously. Ole Miss is somewhat the same boat as Auburn, lost their starting quarterback. I would say people's opinion of the quarterback race is a lot higher at Ole Miss than it is at Auburn right now. Jackson Dart is a very big name that people like. Lost both their coordinators. People just have a lot of faith in Kiffin, so people aren't really talking about them. Just have a lot of faith in him. Got it. Let's see here. I don't think Ole Miss is better, but I have a hard time seeing us being 6-1. I understand that. But I don't know. There's something about this Ole Miss game that I think bodes well in the favor of Auburn. That's just my personal feelings at this moment about it. Ole Miss is going to be our little brother that gets beat up again this year. Let's see. After the first game, our starting quarterback is going to be on the O-line with PTSD. Interesting. Unfortunately, I think this is the game that we drop. This will probably be our team's reality check. And it could be. It absolutely could be. That is a fair place to go with that type of assessment. Crazy Lane going on for 4th down on his side of the field. Wasn't that interesting? That was a fun game to be at. All right, let's take a vote. Talked about it enough. Right now, in the chat, post Auburn or Ole Miss. You may tag a score prediction if you'd like to alongside that, but this is our official vote to keep track of who wins this game, Auburn or Ole Miss. On a Saturday, I'm going to say this one's going to be a night game. This feels like a night game to me. October 15th. Who wins that one? I want to know what you think. Cooper got an Auburn. 38, you're saying 38-27 Ole Miss, fatigue and injuries concerning at this point. That's fair. We got an Auburn. I'm trying to look here. Auburn, Ole Miss. Ole Miss. Ole Miss by 7, either a night game or 11A. I hope it's not an 11A again. We got an Auburn, we got an L. Ole Miss. Auburn, if Ashford is starting, but we can't predict that. So, Trevor, give me a prediction just with your gut of who's going to be starting. If you think it's going to be Robbie Ashford, then predict that. I think right now it seems like it's going to be in favor of Ole Miss. I'll leave the voting open for like a couple more seconds to see if anything comes in. If Trevor wants to give his vote. But I think I've seen enough collectively to think that Auburn's going to drop the game to Ole Miss. And with that, I'm going to close the voting. All right. So remember, if you don't like it, well, there's a vote right there. We're gonna put that one in the loss column for now. Okay. If you don't like it, remember this is just a group collective exercise to see kind of where we're at as a collective. It doesn't have to be your specific prediction for the season, but that's just kind of what we're doing. Ole Miss hasn't beaten us in 6 years, but the group has spoken as a collective, so we're going to do that. All right. Those votes got in there a little late, so that we're going to have to just keep moving on just for the sake of time. All right, let's keep moving. We don't even need to talk about the bye week. Auburn always wins the bye week, no matter how bad they are. But Arkansas Razorbacks. Now, this is a team that everybody seems to be super high on right now. They're ranked 19. Save your votes towards the end, or just as a reminder. 19 right now. This one's in Jordan-Hare Stadium. Here's where I'm at on this Arkansas game. This is very much one of those, if it's at a different location, I change my mind on this. This is at Auburn. If they're coming off 2 straight losses, coming back home finally after we didn't spend hardly any time at home during the month of October, you got to imagine this one's going to mean a whole lot to the Auburn Tigers. Sam Pittman seems to have been, the diamond in the rough in terms of a title. Title. I just saw title in the thing. That's why I said that. In terms of a coach. Well, I guess that could have been a title for him too. A diamond in the rough in terms of a coach. I just don't know that I see him being as successful as a lot of people anticipate him being long-term here. I think he had a lot of success early on, more than people anticipated. I think Arkansas is able to garner a lot of talent. I just don't see the Arkansas Razorbacks having a lot of hope in this particular context, in this particular scenario this season against Auburn. If it's at their place, probably feel different. But I think Auburn is in very good shape to win this one. You'll be in the building for this one. Well, that means we got it won, Dusty, if you got a good track record. Arkansas would be scary if they could throw the ball. It's a fair point. They still got Jefferson. Is that KJ Jefferson, or is he gone? I can't remember who they have now anymore. Is that who it is? Felipe? Because they got Felipe Franks at one point. I can't remember who half of these guys are. We dominated them last year. That was probably one of our better SEC wins. I would say that Arkansas and Ole Miss were some of the best SEC wins that we had, which they're back-to-back in this year. Arkansas injured KJ Jefferson, so we can get a double W here. A double U here. Interesting comments about KJ Jefferson. Interesting. Anyway. All right. So I don't know that there's a lot more that needs to be said about the Arkansas game here. That I've given my basic opinion about it right now, but what do you think? Auburn or Arkansas? Vote right now in the chat. Post it right now with a score prediction if you'd like to do so. Auburn versus Arkansas, your winner you pick right now. Remember, we are sitting at 6-2 as a collective exercise right here. Does anybody think the Woo Pig Sueys have what it takes to surprise people this year overall, but against the Auburn Tigers? I think even if Auburn's taken 2 losses at this point, this still bodes well for the Auburn Tigers at home. All right, let's look. Got a lot of votes coming in. We got Linda with Auburn. Anybody gonna pick the old Arkansas Razorbacks? Auburn. We got one Arkansas. I do not like typing it. At least you admit it. Let's see. Auburn over Kansas in a close one. And me saying that I think Auburn's pretty good spot to win this one is not that I don't think it might not be a close game. All right. I think we've seen enough. The overall prevailing thought here is Auburn, so we're going to put that one in the win column. Did I say 6-2 earlier? I did. I meant 5-2. We are now 6-2 on our group collective exercise of a schedule prediction show. Let's keep moving. At Mississippi State Bulldogs. This one I think is going to be a noon game for no other reason than it just feels like it's going to be, especially after what we had to endure last year with Mississippi State. November 5th, the first game in November, Davis Wade Stadium. Don't know the time specifically. I just don't see Mississippi State being all that of a threat to anybody most of the season. Now, with that being said, you've seen what their offense can do. You saw what our defense couldn't do against them. Has enough changed on the offense, on our defense this year to compensate for what they can do? That is the big question. Are they healthy enough? I think personally, the pass rush here is going to be what sets this apart. Is it Will Rogers that's still the quarterback there? I think so. Do not give this kid any time to throw back there, because if you do, with the amount of receivers they throw out there, tight ends and otherwise, they will find somebody to hit with a pass. A lot of common thread here. Revenge. They want it bad. I want it bad. Let's see here. Don't know what that is. I think if I know what that is, we're going to put someone. There we go. He could win at. Okay, I think I got it. Definitely this game is circled on my schedule, Le'Veon says. Prepared this time, a dusting. Yes and yes. Allen, I agree. This is such a tough one. I feel like we could drop either Mississippi team. I went with them over Ole Miss. Interesting. Any thoughts? Why is it just their offense that scares you? Mason had 2 rushers against them. All right. Let's do a vote right now. Post 2 wins, Auburn or Mississippi State on the road for Auburn. Davis Wade Stadium. Can they get revenge? Remember, we are currently at 6-2 on the year with losses to Ole Miss and to Georgia at this point. Who do you think is going to be the winner of this game? We got Auburn wins. Auburn, Mississippi State from Devin. Fair, like a little bit of fair and balancedness. We got an Auburn overtime win. Auburn. Hopefully Auburn. I think you voted a little bit earlier, though. MSU wins this one. They have a quarterback and O-line factor that's good for them, Rob says. So that's 2 votes for Mississippi State at least. Auburn, and it gets ugly for the Cowbells. Guys, I'm going to tell you this. I've never been more angry than when I was at Mississippi State. Those Cowbells will drive anybody mad. Auburn 24, Cowbells 23. Mississippi State payback with a W. All right, we've seen enough. Auburn, we're putting in the win column. So we've got a 7-game, and I should have said this earlier. We are already bowl eligible, but we've got a 7-game prediction right now wins for Auburn. I think, honestly, anybody at this point, if you can't walk away from 7 wins and at least just be level about it, then you're not looking at the full context of what this team has been through in the last 2 years. That being said, we're not done yet. 3 games left. Let's talk about the next one. Hold your predictions to the end of this. Let's talk about the Texas A&M Aggies. The old Jimbo Fishers, number 6 right now. But in Auburn, Alabama, traditionally, before recent history, the away team wins this one. Auburn broke that streak. Tigers get it first, and then the Aggies started doing the same thing. Will they be as good as advertised? Can they finally take that next step? I don't know. What do you guys think? Thoughts on, not your prediction, but thoughts on Texas A&M? Lots of talent. Is the talent realized yet, though? We know it's coming. We know they've recruited it, however they got them there. Is it ready to compete and be one of the top tier SEC West and SEC programs? What is that? Corey, if it's the one, I see your message. If it's the one, I think so. I think I took care of it one time, but keep pointing them out. Yeah, I think you can report them too if there is a a problem with anybody specifically. There we go. I got one right there. We'll take care of that. Let's get back to where you guys are talking about this. The money bag Aggies, yes. They are very good at getting those games. Devin, we said that Mississippi State was a win, despite your prediction. I don't think A&M will have that good of an offense. I think they will have a good defense, though. Interesting. Alan thinks we play them well. Levon thinks they're overrated. Talented. I just don't think they'll have a good enough quarterback play. Who's even their quarterback? I don't know that one. However they got them there, yes. You know exactly what I'm referring to with that. Can Auburn pay their players more to play horrible? Interesting. I think the Auburn game, A&M game is going to come down to who is the best at wide receivers. That's actually, Corey, I think I probably agree with you. That is probably the big storyline that comes out of this one. One of the big questions along this Auburn team all year is going to be their offensive line, but especially their wide receivers. Who's going to step up? If Auburn has found their deep threat, if Auburn has found their possession guy, which I think they already have, and somebody like Shedrick Jackson, who's just going to be reliable, pass defenses aside, over the middle, kind of utilize and underneath routes. But if they've realized those 2 guys at this point, I feel really good about where we're at in terms of this game. However, I can't ignore the talent. So this one, I'll be honest with you, as formidable as Texas A&M seems, it's a push for me. So I'd really like to see what you guys think. It's at home, but let's be honest here about this thing. What do you really think? Heinz King, that's who it is. Thank you, Robert. What do you really think about this game? Post it in the chat. Hang on a second here. All right. In the chat, post your prediction. Auburn or Texas A&M. You may post a score, but what do you think? Auburn or Texas A&M? Who wins this one? Post it right now. I'm going to start the counting here. Oh, actually right here. Auburn beats Texas A&M, being in a groove, 32-20. That's a big score difference there. I don't know about that one. I think they could beat them. I don't know if it's going to be like that, though. Auburn beats Texas A&M. Auburn wins. Auburn. Got a lot of positivity in here tonight. I'm interested in this. All right. This might be one where I disagree with you guys a little bit. But, wow, look at all of this. Auburn. A&M, we got an A&M there. Auburn easily. Wow, Auburn in overtime. Well, I'll be honest with you guys. I don't know if I necessarily agree. That's not an official prediction, but based on the room here, that's a dub. That's a dub. We're going to count it right there. All right, let's keep here. Here's where we're at right now, folks. We've closed the voting for that particular one. We're sitting at 8-2 on the year. If you're not happy with 8-2 at this point in the season, you can't be pleased. Auburn will have gone through Texas A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, an Arkansas team, which will probably be formidable enough, and Penn State. You can't be helped if you're not satisfied with what you've seen at that. Now, satisfied, don't take that to the fullest extent in terms of like accepting mediocrity, because some of y'all get so hyped up on that. Learn the context and with what would be expected there. All right. There was an A&M by 20, but hey, listen, most of these, and that is where we end that individual. My goodness. I mean, some people are just misbehaving in the chat. So I gave some people a couple of strikes tonight on the thing. You can't see the things that I'm doing behind the scenes here, but that was one time too many. 2 times too many, to be honest with you. All right, let's talk about it here. We'll give you I want your predictions in just a little bit. What do you think about Western Kentucky? The Hilltoppers, November 19th, most likely going to be a noontime game. I don't know anything about Western Kentucky, so I've seen your question, Kerry. I can answer it now. I have no clue. I'll be honest with you. I'm not one of these guys that likes to dive into every aspect of every team and really learn anything super much about them other than what I already know until it comes game week time. So I will know a lot more about this one when we get later into the year. And but let's be honest. Is this one up for question? Here's what I do know. It's going to be the last home game. It's going to be senior night day game, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be sad to see no more Auburn football in the stadium. It sucks that we have to end the game on one like this because it's not that much fun, right? It really isn't. It's just you get excited for the senior aspect of it. You're expected to win, but there's not really a whole lot other that you look to other than just kind of staying healthy. So let's put it to a vote, an official vote right now in the chat. If you voted before then, I'm not counting it, but vote it now. Who does this? Auburn or Western Kentucky? Put your official vote in for me right now. If I don't get any votes, I'm going to assume y'all think Western Kentucky's going to win. Can't sleep on them. Could be an upset. I don't know about that one. All right, there we go. There's the votes. A lot more points underrated given to West Kentucky. Do you know something about their offense that I don't? Now, that being said, it is highly plausible underrated that Auburn could get out to a score like 42-7 or something like that and then put everybody in and they score a lot. So, yes, that could be. Yeah, starters here for Bama. Half asleep. Yeah, I think we got it. Good guys win. Okay. All right, folks. Hold your predictions for this last one. They won't count towards the vote until I call for it. Hold your predictions. I know you're ready for this one. It says trap game written all over it. I don't know about that. All right. Auburn versus Alabama, the one we look forward to every year, no matter how good or bad each team is. You throw the records out. Case in point, last year, you throw out everything that's happened. And you just wait and see what the magic is that happens with the Iron Bowl. Currently ranked number 1, Alabama Crimson Tide. By most people's standards, I should say a lot of people's standards, more talented than last year. With that in mind, what chance do the Tigers stand? They always stand a chance. Tell me there's a chance. But what type of opportunity do they have to beat the Alabama Crimson Tide, who may be undefeated, still ranked number 1, to come into Bryant-Denny and beat the Alabama Crimson Tide? Can anyone make a case for this particular game? Alabama will be improved. That is saying something. Tough to get to bet against them when they're at home. It would take a Cam Newton type performance. Does TJ have it in him? If he's the starting quarterback. If he is. We're due for one in Tuscaloosa, but we're due to keep Alabama from going to the playoffs, so why not this year? We've already done it a couple of times, but maybe. They would have had to have taken another loss. So even if they were to lose to us here, they're probably going to go. Even if their losses to maybe us and then in the SEC championship game would have to be utterly embarrassing for them not to make the playoff. So that's going to happen. Tuscaloosa Football Club. Jeez. Alabama's going to be scoring like a basketball. Ooh, man. Not a lot of strong expectations there. Close game because Alabama gets comfortable. All right, let's take an official vote. What say you, the Auburn family, the E2C Network family? Post right now. Auburn or Alabama? Who wins this one? Keep in mind, to this point, Auburn has predicted, or we as a collective here had predicted a 9-2 season, which means there is a scenario where Alabama maybe has already taken a loss. If Auburn wins this one in a 9-2, a 10-1 situation where Alabama's the ladder there, Auburn can still beat them and go to the SEC championship game. What do you think? We got Auburn wins. They can absolutely win. Curious if the O-line keeping the quarterback healthy all season. 27-24 won't even say their name. We got an Auburn. Mullet Nation wins. Linda, I'm going to take your vote as a default Alabama just because I know you can't do it either way. Auburn by 3. Oh, no. Game will be decided by the officials. We got an Auburn, Bama. Auburn wins the Iron Bowl with 2 kick 6. Oh, my gosh. That's a vote for the... All right. Look, I know a lot of y'all are having fun with this. Let's be realistic, though. Right now, context of what we know, I think I saw enough to say that we as a collective can admit that that's a loss. All right. So we're going to halt the predictions right there. But give me just a second and I'll tell you why. Because so much is got to play into talking about postseason. But what do you all think about 9-3? If Auburn, let's just say that even if you don't agree with that prediction, Auburn losing to Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss doesn't make it to the SEC championship game, but is sitting there for will probably be a decent bowl game. How does that sit with you? Are you able to accept that as a successful season, as a step in the right direction, not good enough? What would be your overall thoughts as a fan base? Because to me, 9-3 after what we went through is exceeding expectations. That's not to say that we are accepting of mediocrity. It simply says to me that Auburn overcame a lot of obstacles and has surprised a lot of people. Let's see. 9-3 Harsin should be mentioned for SEC Coach of the Year. Alan would call that a great season, Coach of the Year for him. I think y'all are stepping out a bit on that. That's a big step forward. Yeah, I agree. 9-3 is going in the right direction. All right. It seems like most everybody agrees that 9-3 is very pleasing in terms of quelling some of the fan perspective on things. I'll be honest with you guys. 9-3 is exceeding, at this moment, it is not an official prediction, expectations for me. Because of the unknowns, because of what we've been through, because of who we have to play and when we have to play them and how good they seem to be at this point. I think 9-3 is very, very possible. I really, truly do. Is it likely, though? That is the big question, and that is what I'm going to be wrestling with when I make my final prediction video. But 9-3. All right, to close out our discussion tonight, let's do this. Let's say we are 9-3 with losses to Alabama, Georgia, and Ole Miss. What type of bowl game does Auburn go to? Do you think they've done enough to get one of the bigger ones? I don't know what the makeup of the New Year's Six is this year. It's normally the same rotation, but I always get confused how that works. Where do you think we end up? Is it like a Citrus Bowl? Oh, there's so many ones now. Where do you think we end up in that particular scenario with a 9-3 win season? I think the way that Auburn travels is very appealing to bowl officials, and I think that Auburn being that surprisingly good this year is going to favor them to be in a good game against a really good opponent, which may not bode well for them in terms of winning it, depending on who the opponent is, but it will be a good, game nonetheless. We got a Capital One. Is that still a thing now? They changed from Citrus to Capital One, back to Citrus, and now there's a Capital One Bowl. It's all confusing. New Year's Bowl, Gator Citrus, maybe. Citrus, sugar, or peach. Robert says the Music City. Hopefully at that rate we get more than that. All right. Got some good perspectives there. Birmingham or Tampa. Not in that reality. All right. Guys, I know that there are a lot of disagreements, a lot of frustrations, and a lot of differing expectations on this season. But what I hope that you can take away from our discussion here is that Auburn has a lot of potential for this year. Auburn has a lot of opportunity to do some surprising things, has a lot of opportunity as well to disappoint. But I hope you can enjoy the season, because as we learned 2 seasons ago, we're not guaranteed tomorrow, but we're not guaranteed a football season. So just be thankful it's here, and just be thankful that you have it. All right, we'll take final comments and questions here, but real quick before you leave, if you haven't, please do check out some of the links in the description for ways you can help support our content. One of those is being a channel member here by hitting that join button. You can do that by hitting that button. $1 a month is all it takes. Thank you to so many of our channel members already. Or join the Booster Club. Patreon.com/U2C Network. Check that out there. That starts at $1 a month with different perks and different tiers. All that good stuff. There's also PayPal, all kinds of other stuff, super chats, things of that nature. We appreciate you, though, just being here and being part of our shows, because it shows us that you find your time, which is very valuable and hard-earned, valuable to spend it with us here and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. All right, to close out our show, I'll take final comments and questions and give you a little perspective of what's coming up on the E2C network. We have to start 3-0. Like we have to, but it'd be very good if we did. As long as we don't go to the Rose Bowl. Yeah, who are you telling? I don't want to travel all the way out there. I wouldn't travel all the way out there. College football's back this Saturday. Oh, my goodness, I'm so ready. Even though I will be in Auburn this weekend. By the way, I guess I should have announced that. I think I did last live stream. I'll be in Auburn at the practice. If you see me, come find me. Love to talk to you and hear from you all tonight, or on who've been here or ever participated in one of these shows or listened to the podcast. Please don't be shy. Come up, say hello. I don't bite. Linda and Tusty can tell you that for a fact. Several other people who I've met who have consumed some of our content. I'd love to meet some of y'all. I just hope we aren't all drinking too much Kool-Aid. That's fair. I think there's a point where you don't want to fan and barn too hard, but at the same time, I think a little optimism goes a long way. You do not owe me anything, sir. I mean that. You do not owe me anything. Just your friendship and being part of here. And with that being said, Rob is being too kind and generous with a super chat. That's amazing, sir. Thank you so much for your support. That will pay for half of a parking fee. No, I'm kidding. Thank you so much. That is way too kind of you, but thank you for that super chat. Let's see here. The Rose Bowls in the Big Ten and the Pac-12. Yeah, the only chance we ever would have had to gone to the Rose Bowl these days was when it was in the BCS title game, and we pulled that off. Do I think our defense is going to be better than our offense? Yes, but that's not to mean that our offense can't be good. Well, Dusty's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Not me, though. You don't know me that well. We'll be there at the LSU game. Will you be there? Every single home game is my plan at this point. Maybe not the second game. We shall see. All right, guys, thank y'all so much for being here and being part of our family within the Auburn family. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm excited. Stay tuned this weekend. I can't guarantee something, but there might be a little surprise coming through here on a Sunday evening. We'll see. Always be subscribed. Have the notification bark to all notifications so you don't miss out on a chance for a video or a live stream. But next week, it's game week, baby. Till I talk to you on the next video, the next live stream, or a Wednesday night live chat. We're always there at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'll talk to you guys then. And War Eagle, my friend.